Today we're diving into a really deep idea from the spiritual teacher Osho, the journey to find what true silence really is. But what if I told you that real, deep silence has absolutely nothing to do with being quiet?
So let's start with a really simple question. What is silence? I mean, you probably think of it as, the absence of noise. But what if it's something more? What if real silence is something you don't just hear, but you actually feel? A powerful living presence, all on its own.
You see, most of us look at silence as this empty, negative thing, just a lack of sound. But Osho completely flips that on its head. For him, silence is a positive, almost living thing. It's not empty at all. He says it's actually full of a music that our ears can't hear and a light that we can only see with our inner eye. So how in the world do we perceive this inner world? Well, Osho talks about a sixth sense, which in the East is often called the third eye. Think about it. Your 5 physical senses are all designed to explore the world outside of you. The third eye is the one that's designed to look inward, to explore the universe inside of you. But before we can even begin to look inward, we got to deal with a pretty major obstacle. And that obstacle? It's the constant, nonstop noise created by the crowd that's living inside our own heads.
I mean, have you ever felt this? That feeling of being pulled in a million different directions by all these conflicting voices in your own mind. One part of you is screaming, "Go for it!" while another one is yelling, "No way, that's a terrible idea." Osho says this isn't some personal failing. It's that society has turned most of us from a single, whole individual into a noisy, internal crowd.
Okay, so where does this inner crowd even come from? Osho makes this really critical distinction. He argues that our personality, well, it isn't actually our true self. It's just a collection of masks that society has told us to wear.
Think of it like this. Your personality, that's what's been given to you by your parents, your teachers, by society. It's a kind of mask, or even a prison, and it's what creates all that inner conflict. But your individuality? That's your true nature. It's the authentic you that you were born with, and that is the real source of peace.
So once we kind of get a handle on this inner conflict, we can finally start the journey to find what's lying underneath it all. And Osho lays out this journey as a path through 4 really distinct levels of silence.
And the path he describes is a really clear progression. It starts on the outside, with the body, then it moves inward, to the mind, then it goes even deeper, into the heart. But the final destination? That's the silence of your very being. Each step is a journey, taking you closer and closer to your true center.
Now here's something that's super important to understand. Just achieving the silence of the body, or the mind, or even the heart, that's a huge step. But Osho gives us a warning. These states are fragile. A sudden illness can shatter the body's peace. A single anxious thought can send ripples through a calm mind. They're great, they're beneficial, but they are not the final destination.
And that right there brings us to the ultimate goal, the 4th silence. In the East, it's called Turiya, which literally just means the 4th. And this isn't a temporary state you dip in and out of. It's what you fundamentally are. It's your eternal, unshakable core that nothing can touch. And that distinction is everything. It's not your silence, it's that you are silence.
The biggest danger on this whole journey is stopping too early. You might hit a moment of mental quiet, a little bit of peace, and think, yes, I've made it. But the mind is incredibly clever. It's a master at creating justifications to convince you that you've gone far enough.
There's this great old Sufi story that just nails this idea. A guy named Nasruddin Hoxha hears a big fight outside. He goes out to see what's happening, and in the chaos, someone steals his blanket. The second his blanket is gone, everyone scatters. So what's his conclusion? Well, clearly the whole fight must have been about my blanket, right? I mean, his logic seems to make sense, but it's completely wrong. And that is exactly what our minds do. They create these perfectly logical but totally misleading stories to keep us from digging any deeper. So the message here is crystal clear. Osho points to Gautam Buddha, who apparently ended his talks every single day with the exact same 2 words. Charivate, charivate. Keep going, don't stop. Don't settle for those early, fragile stages of silence. You have to push on until you reach that unshakable 4th. Okay, so how do we actually do this? How do we keep going? Well, Osho uses this beautiful metaphor to explain the practical side of all this. He says it's like nurturing a very small, delicate plant inside you.
See, you can't approach this inner growth with brute force. It isn't some technical skill you can master.
It's much more like gardening. You can't force a flower to bloom, right? But what you can do is create the perfect conditions, the right soil, the right amount of water, the right light, and then it just blossoms all on its own.
So what are those perfect conditions? He gives us 3 things. First, meditation. This is what strengthens the plant. Second, love. And this isn't about technique. It's about a deep feeling, more like a mother's care than a nurse's efficiency. And third, and this is something we might forget, joy, laughter, song, dance. That's the sunlight that helps this inner flower grow. And when we actually do this, when we nurture this inner plant, we're not just finding a little bit of peace for today. We are fundamentally changing our entire destiny and creating what Osho calls a golden future. So many spiritual traditions are always looking backward, right, to some mythical golden past. But Osho just flips that script. He says the goal isn't to reclaim something that was lost, it's to create something brand new. The real work is to cultivate a magnificent future that starts right now from inside you. And this right here is the key that unlocks the whole thing. It's not about becoming someone else or achieving some holy ideal. It's simply about having the guts to be yourself, to drop the personality and let your true individuality shine. When you can do that, he says, your future is golden.
So, we'll just leave you with this to think about. If true silence isn't an absence, but a presence, if it's full of its own music and light, what sound does your own silence make?